Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. What to watch in the economy this week, top 5 events. As we kick off a new week, let's take a look at 5 key economic events that could shape the markets in the days ahead. 1. Monday, UK Q3 GDP final data release. The UK will publish its final GDP figures for the third quarter. This is a critical metric for assessing the health of the British economy and predicting the Bank of England's next move on interest rates. It's also a major factor influencing the value of the British pound. 2. Tuesday, central bank meeting minutes. 3 central banks, Canada, Japan, and Australia, are set to release the minutes from their December policy meetings. These minutes give investors a behind-the-scenes look at what policymakers are debating, where disagreements lie, and which viewpoints are gaining traction. That insight is invaluable for predicting future rate decisions and will likely impact the currencies of these countries. 3. Thursday, U.S. initial jobless claims. The weekly report on initial claims for unemployment benefits will be released. While it doesn't carry as much weight as the monthly non-farm payroll report, it's still a useful indicator of trends in the U.S. labor market. Any shifts could hint at broader economic changes. 4. Thursday, 30-year fixed mortgage rates. The focus will also be on the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, with data for the week of December 16 set to be announced. Last week, instead of dropping, the rate ticked upward despite the Federal Reserve's rate cuts. This week's numbers could signal whether mortgage rates might start easing, a key factor for the housing market and real estate prices. 5. A Thursday evening, China's industrial enterprise profits. At 8:30 p.m. US time, China's National Bureau of Statistics will report November's profits for large-scale industrial enterprises. This is a vital indicator for understanding the trajectory of China's macroeconomic performance. Overall market outlook. With Christmas around the corner, global investors tend to take it easy during this period. Historically, markets see a slight uptick during the holiday season, but trading volumes are usually light, and the movements are modest. For many market participants, this might be one of the most relaxed weeks of the year. Enjoy the calm, 2025 will be here before we know it. Next, let's dive into the latest headlines about Donald Trump. On the surface, these stories might seem straightforward, but there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. Here's a closer look at what's happening and why it matters. 1. Trump blasts Panama Canal fees, threatens to take it back or build a new one. In a fiery post on his Truth Social platform, Trump called Panama Canal tolls outrageous and accused Panama of extorting the U.S. He said the fees were nothing short of robbery, especially considering how much the U.S. has done for Panama over the years. Trump demanded a fee reduction and even suggested Panama return the canal to U.S. control or face competition from a new canal. Here's the backstory. The canal's importance. The Panama Canal is critical for U.S. trade, with about 75% of its traffic coming from American ships. Drought complications. Panama's ongoing drought has reduced the canal's capacity, driving up shipping costs and contributing to inflation in the U.S. Trump also linked this to history. The canal was built by the U.S. in 1914, but in 1977, President Jimmy Carter signed a treaty transferring control to Panama in 1999, a decision Trump has long criticized. The real kicker? Trump didn't just stop at blaming Panama. He accused them of getting too cozy with China. A Hong Kong-based Chinese company now controls 2 of the 5 major ports near the canal, 1 on each side. Trump's underlying message was clear: this isn't just about fees, it's about keeping China out of America's backyard. 2. Trump's immigration policies inspire Caribbean crackdowns. Another big story comes from Bloomberg, which reported that Trump's hardline stance on immigration is influencing policies in the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic, for instance, has pledged to deport 10,000 undocumented migrants every week, a move that's being framed as a direct response to Trump's tough talk. Here's why this is significant. In the past, Caribbean nations often turned a blind eye to migrants passing through on their way to the U.S. Under the Biden administration, Vice President Kamala Harris tried to work with these nations through diplomacy and aid, but with little success. Trump, on the other hand, has taken a no-nonsense approach, threatening consequences for countries that fail to curb illegal immigration. It seems that his approach is making waves, literally, with these nations now stepping up their enforcement efforts. As the saying goes, it takes a tough guy to handle tough situations, and this seems to be one of those cases. 3. Trump's daughter-in-law bows out of Senate seat race. In a twist involving Florida politics, Laura Trump, Trump's daughter-in-law, announced she's withdrawing her bid for a U.S. Senate seat. The seat became available after Senator Marco Rubio was reportedly tapped for a cabinet position in Trump's administration. Laura had hoped Florida Governor Ron DeSantis would appoint her, but that didn't happen. Here's where it gets interesting. A family power play, Laura's bid for the seat was seen as part of the Trump family's broader political strategy, but it faced backlash from other contenders in Florida. DeSantis versus Trump. DeSantis has been one of the few prominent Republicans willing to challenge Trump. Many see his reluctance to back Laura as a sign that he's protecting his own political ambitions, possibly for a 2028 presidential run. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump himself hinted DeSantis wouldn't appoint Laura, calling it a political move to safeguard his future. This drama underscores the ongoing tension between Trump and DeSantis, with both men maneuvering to maintain influence in the Republican Party. Why these stories matter? These 3 headlines show us the many sides of Trump's approach to politics: aggressive, unapologetic, and always strategic. Whether it's confronting foreign powers, influencing global immigration policies, or navigating domestic party dynamics, Trump remains a dominant and controversial force on the world stage. Next, let's focus on a big piece of news from Canada. Is Trudeau's time running out? Canada faces a political crossroads. Canada's political scene is heating up, and all eyes are on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. A report from Bloomberg highlights mounting pressure within Trudeau's own Liberal Party for him to step down as Prime Minister. Let's break it down. The call for resignation. The situation took a serious turn after more than 50 Liberal members of Parliament, MPs, from Ontario, the country's largest province, held a virtual meeting. The outcome? A collective agreement: Trudeau must resign. Here's why this is significant. A major bloc within the party, these 50 MPs represent 1/3 of the Liberal caucus in the House of Commons. The Liberals currently hold 153 seats, making this internal demand a substantial challenge. Not opposition, but allies. This pressure isn't coming from opposition parties, it's Trudeau's own teammates sounding the alarm. But here's the catch: the Liberal Party lacks a formal mechanism to oust a sitting leader or outline a clear process for leadership competition. This has created a leadership vacuum that complicates the path forward. The role of the NDP and Trudeau's fragile coalition. Trudeau's government doesn't hold a majority in Parliament. Instead, it survives through a coalition with the New Democratic Party, NDP. Now, even the NDP is signaling frustration with Trudeau's leadership. What happens if the NDP bails? If the NDP withdraws its support, Trudeau's government could collapse, triggering his resignation or a new election. Key timing: political analysts suggest that the next 1 to 2 weeks could be critical in determining Trudeau's fate. Trudeau's stance: not ready to go. Despite the growing pressure, Trudeau isn't planning his exit. Instead, he's reportedly gearing up for another election, insisting that he's ready to continue serving Canadians. This determination raises a question: how much longer will Canadians, or even his own party, support his leadership? Why this matters? Canada's political landscape is entering a pivotal moment. If Trudeau steps down or the coalition dissolves, it could dramatically shift the country's leadership and policies. For now, Trudeau seems set on staying the course, but his political survival may hinge on decisions made in the coming weeks. Stay tuned, Canada's political drama is far from over. Next, let's focus on Trump's big ask: NATO defense spending in the spotlight. A recent Bloomberg report sheds light on a growing debate among European leaders about NATO's defense spending targets, sparked by Donald Trump's bold demands. Let's dive into what's happening and why it matters. Trump's push for 5% defense spending. During Trump's first term as U.S. president, he pressured NATO members to increase their defense spending to at least 2% of GDP. Now, as he eyes a return to the White House, Trump has upped the ante, calling for a whopping 5% of GDP. This has left European leaders scrambling to respond. European leaders weigh in. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis made a striking comment during a meeting in Finland, suggesting the old 2% guideline is outdated. Mitsotakis' take: "We'll have to spend more than 2%, he told reporters, acknowledging the changing defense landscape. The setting, the meeting, hosted by Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo, also included Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, and the EU's foreign policy chief Josep Borrell. Italian Prime Minister Meloni was more reserved, stating, "We'll wait to see the new US president's exact intentions. But we all understand we need to do more for NATO." The bigger picture, why Trump's demand makes waves. Some argue Trump's 5% target is unfair, pointing out that even the US doesn't meet this threshold. But here's the context. America's role in NATO, the US isn't just one player among equals, it's NATO's backbone. In conflicts like the war in Ukraine, America consistently shoulders the lion's share of costs. No equal split, unlike a simple proportional contribution, the US acts as a financial safety net for NATO, covering gaps when other countries fall short. Trump's demand for 5% can be seen as a way of pressuring allies to share more of the burden, acknowledging the reality that America ultimately covers the tab for NATO's collective defense. Is Trump tough or tactical? While Trump's rhetoric often sounds harsh, his actions suggest he's not abandoning NATO but trying to redefine the partnership. If he genuinely wanted to weaken NATO, he could have pushed for an equal split model, where the US would reduce its contributions. Instead, his demands reflect a push to maintain NATO's strength while ensuring allies pull their weight. What's next for NATO? This tug-of-war over defense spending highlights a deeper negotiation about NATO's future. The US remains the dominant force, but how much allies are willing and able to contribute will shape NATO's path forward. For now, it's clear NATO's future is still a balancing act between American leadership and European commitment. Our fifth topic today is official data under fire, UK statistics and global skepticism. Here's a fascinating piece from Bloomberg that highlights growing skepticism toward official government data, not just in China, but now in the UK as well. Let's break down what's happening and why it matters. UK GDP data faces credibility questions. The UK's Office for National Statistics, ONS, is under scrutiny as questions arise about the reliability of its economic data, particularly GDP figures. This week, the UK is set to release its third-quarter GDP report, but doubts are already swirling about its accuracy. What's the issue? A sharp decline in public participation in a key household survey used to estimate GDP growth. The root of the problem. According to the report, key survey participation drops. The ONS relies heavily on household responses to its living costs and food survey for GDP calculations, particularly to understand income and spending patterns. Post-pandemic resistance. Since COVID-19, fewer households are responding to the survey. Recent data shows only 20% of households are willing to participate, meaning 80% are opting out. This lack of engagement has raised concerns about whether GDP figures truly reflect the state of the economy. The public's growing distrust. This decline in participation appears to signal a broader trend of public resistance toward government surveys. Post-pandemic, there's been a noticeable shift in attitudes, with many people unwilling to cooperate. As a result, critics are questioning the reliability of official statistics. How can the ONS claim accuracy when its sample size has shrunk so dramatically? If fewer people are participating, are the results representative of the population? The role of AI in fixing the gap. In response to the declining participation, the ONS has suggested incorporating artificial intelligence to strengthen its data collection and analysis. However, AI isn't a magic bullet. AI can analyze existing data, but it can't force people to respond or accurately predict behaviors without input. Skeptics argue that AI's ability to fill in the gaps might lead to even more questions about data reliability. A global phenomenon, doubts about official data. This isn't just a UK issue. Across the world, skepticism about official economic data is on the rise. In the US, the government's reports suggest inflation is under control, but voters in the 2024 election pointed to rising prices as a top concern. Despite claims of economic recovery, many Americans feel their purchasing power and standard of living have taken a hit. In China, criticism of economic data is a different story altogether, with allegations of systematic manipulation by the government. These examples highlight a growing divide between what official numbers say and how people actually experience the economy. The takeaway: this UK story is a reminder to approach official statistics with a critical eye. While numbers may look good on paper, the underlying data collection processes and the public's trust in them play a huge role in their credibility. In a world where public trust is increasingly fragile, governments need to address these gaps transparently. Whether through improved methods or rebuilding trust, the accuracy and legitimacy of economic data are more crucial than ever. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.